You are listening to the Cattle Call Podcast. This is the place where computer-aided design and drafting meets humor and practicality, with a touch of business acumen thrown in for fun. Jim and Rocco, the owners of Zentech Consultants, the premier U.S. technology consulting firm for architecture, engineering, construction, and manufacturing, discuss the fascinating world of CAD with some humor and some honesty. The Cattle Call Podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Cattle Call Podcast. I am Jim Coppinger from Zentech Consultants, and with me, as always, is my co-host, partner, and really the only man dumb enough to put up with my crap on a daily basis, Mr. Rocco Parisi. How are we doing today, Rocco?
Good morning, sir, and you finally admitted it.
Oh, believe me, I know about the crazy, man. Listen, I have much respect for your patience. I think you're nuts to put up with me, but, you know, it works, I guess, somehow or other.
Hey, I collect a paycheck. Your wife doesn't.
That's very true. Well, let's be honest about it. My wife collects my paycheck in full. She gets all the money. It's amazing how I started off as a child getting an allowance and thought when I got to be an adult I'd be free of that. And now I'm married for 30 years and I get an allowance. Can I have money for lunch? Yeah, it's sad. Your wife takes the whole paycheck and I get $20 for lunch. For the whole week, by the way. That's not every day. That's for the whole week. Sad lives we lead. So, all right. So what do we okay. So today's topic, we're going to be talking about construction management apps, right? We want to find out whether they're a benefit or a burden. Okay? So now, listen, for those of you who are listening and starting to go, oh, wait, this is not for me, right? I know this is primarily a CAD-based podcast. I mean, you can tell by our very cool name and that big mooing sound that we do at the beginning of each session. But, all right, you guys hang around for this because, while we understand that, you guys do CAD work, you got to know that, all of our listeners in the CAD world, what you do overlaps at some point with the construction world, right? At the end of the day, the CAD designs we do is meant for construction purposes. So it's a natural progression for us to talk some about the technology on the other side of your drawing file, right? So that's where we want to kind of focus a little bit today and see what they're doing and how that works. So, for the last, I'd say 5 years or so, I think there's been, kind of a marked rise in the use of construction management tools and software. And honestly, that growth doesn't show any signs of stopping. If you look at the news, you see that even major players like, Autodesk and Adobe and Microsoft, they're all lining up to get into this market, right? It's just growing so quickly. And really it makes sense, right? The construction, number one, is such a high dollar value prospect. All of those companies are going to want to get into it. And it's important on the construction and for any company that's doing the actual work. Because when you look at it, even a minor efficiency and performance increase in your project management, construction management tool set can have a massive financial impact on your bottom line. Think about it like this, right? Take this away from today's class. If I tell you, hey, you're going to manage to get a 1% profitability increase, most people shrug and go, oh, okay, it's 1%. That's nothing. It doesn't sound like a lot. But in construction, you're working on a $100 million construction job. That's $1 million more in profit, which, believe me, all of us can always use $1 million. I know I certainly can. But Rocco won't give it to me. He's cheap like that. So, all right, Rocco, let's talk about this for a minute. So, construction management is an area that, here at Zentech we've been moving into recently, right? Both in, our practical service offerings and from the tech support standpoint. What type of interest in construction management applications have you been seeing? Do you find that the people you're talking to are satisfied with the systems they already have in place, or are they looking for something new, something better, or maybe even just getting into it for the first go round?
Yeah, I'm not seeing a huge. It's not something that comes up in a lot of conversations, but kind of complementing a recent podcast that we recorded. A lot of folks are looking to make better use of what they have, and I know that we're going to get into some of the tools down the road, but like I run into in particular a lot of customers that are using Procore and they want to become more efficient at it. Mm-hmm. And that comes up regularly.
Okay. All right, yeah. So
what do you see?
Well, yeah, it's kind of funny, and it's what we're going to talk about here today. That it's a massive industry that's growing very, very quickly, but it seems to be growing in kind of a limited space, which is kind of interesting. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. Um, but I think the first thing, right, is to understand about the construction management, and the tools. They really kind of come in two big flavors, so to speak. You have enterprise and modular systems. Whereas enterprise systems are meant to handle all aspects of your construction project in one application and across your whole company. Right? They're going to let you control everything from your initial estimates to file hosting and billing and scheduling and project accounting and work orders and 100 other items that you need to manage on a construction job. Modular systems, on the other hand, they focus on the individual tasks that you need to work with in a construction environment. They let you select and choose and purchase only the modules that are important to you, right? And that gives each user the ability to focus on their own area of expertise instead of trying to learn a larger, more complex system, right? Which could just be touching on their work kind of at the periphery, right? Modular systems, I think, have the additional benefit of obviously being more cost effective. You're only buying what you need when you need it for the specific type of work that you do. The drawback to that is that there's more potential for, data loss or operator error, so to speak, and even, work duplication when you have different people using different programs or different modules of the same system. So those are kind of the two overalls. So, what do you think, Rock? I mean, do the clients you talk to, they seem to have any preference between the two types of systems? Do you think that they're looking for one over the other, the modular versus enterprise?
Yeah, I think it's more the modular on the modular end. Enterprise, first of all, it involves a buy-in from everybody within the organization, right? And good luck trying to get everybody to agree. And second, it's like you said, it's a lower price point. It's more focused on specific needs. So that's kind of what I generally see or have conversations around.
Yeah, and that makes sense to me because it's scalable, right? I mean, you can grab one or two modules today, and you can add more as you need them, right? Instead of just paying one massive lump sum for the entire enterprise suite. You're only adding the pieces that you need when you need them. So I think, yeah, that's a good entry point for people. So to kind of get back to what what we started to talk about before, the funny thing to me is that, the construction management software industry, it's one of the fastest growing out there, right? But its users are all noted as being, behind the curve when it comes to new software adoption. Listen, by construction people are by their very nature, they're very conservative and they're very resistant to change. And a lot of times that gets, thrown off to, education and age. And I don't think that's true. I think it has a lot to do with how long it takes people to develop the institutional knowledge that they need in such a complex industry and to, establish yourself as a recognized professional in this construction arena. And I think that the idea of having to change what you took 20 years mastering, just because some programmer in the back room in Silicon Valley had this, cool new idea. I think that concept is horrifying to a lot of people in the construction industry.
Yeah.
The funny thing, like I said, is that the growth in this software industry is still happening, right? Because the one thing that those same really conservative folks all agree on, and they all understand, is that efficiency equals profitability, right? They go hand in hand. They understand, the direct benefits of, faster turnaround and better data, right? Has a huge positive, on their project outcomes. And I think we're seeing, a lot more buy-in to this new generation of construction management tools over the past few years. Because, like I was saying before, with the bigger industries or the bigger players getting in, I think the software developers have finally gotten smart enough to start engaging with, actual construction professionals, right? And they're developing to those professionals' needs and instead of letting the eggheads in Silicon Valley, just kind of cobble together some features based on, a couple of, surveyed business concerns and maybe a white paper or two, and the other thing that I've been seeing in the industry is that there, a lot of the large software developers are even going so far as to partner with, or even, buy outright, full-scale construction management firms in order to develop products that genuinely meet the needs of this industry. And I think that's a huge shift, and I think that's why we're seeing adoption of it, even though it's not quite as widespread as, the numbers may seem to indicate. We're going to talk about that in the next section. So I think, Rocco, unless you object, we're going to take a break here to hear from today's sponsor. Right? And when we come back, we'll be talking about some of the leading software systems in this arena and the pros and cons of those and how to run with them. Right? You good with that, Rocco?
I'm good with that. Go have a sip of coffee.
All right, I'll go have coffee. All right, folks, we'll be back in just a minute with more of the Cattle Call podcast. All right, everybody, today's Cattle Call was brought to you courtesy of Zentech Consultants. That's Rocco and I. Zentech Consultants works with design and manufacturing firms to help our clients purchase and implement the software that they need in these complex industries. We provide a single point of contact for clients to buy, develop, and learn the most vital software systems for your specific needs. Zentech strives to be your trusted technology partner from your initial needs all the way through long-term support and training for your entire staff. So Rocco, why don't you tell them how to reach out to Zentech?
All right, yeah, you can reach out to us through zentechconsultants.net. You can email us at sales@zentechconsultants.net, or you can even call us, 866-824-4459.
Excellent. We look forward to hearing from y'all. All right, everybody, we are back with more of the Cattle Call podcast with Jim and Rocco from Zentech Consultants. All right, so we're back to discuss the state of construction management applications on the market today. Let's start with some numbers, all right, to help everybody kind of understand the scope of this industry and why I think this is so important. So I did some research out on the web and based on info from OpenPR, Capterra, and Research and Market reports. Right. So here's what I found. Right. So number one, the construction management software market is a $2.73 billion a year industry. That's not negligible. That is a huge industry for software. This industry is projected to grow at an annual rate of between 8 and 10% every year for the next decade. Right? That's a 10% growth every single year over the next 10 years. That's substantial, right? Especially when you compare that against that $2.73 billion. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, right? And this is where it goes back to what you were saying in the first segment, Rocco. Right? Only 44% of construction firms are currently using any type of construction management software. Okay? All right? The most used features in construction management software, right, at 70% plus of those people who are using it, they're using it for change order control, scheduling, and estimating. All right, those are the big drives in the construction industry that are pushing this forward. And here's one that I just caught, and I was like, wow, that's kind of interesting. 22% of all construction firms still use Microsoft Excel as their primary project and construction management tool. All right, they're just using basic Excel. All right, so I think those numbers show, right, that not only is this just a huge industry with a lot of money and a lot of potential, but that it still has this immense amount of room to grow, and less than half of the companies have really gotten invested in it or involved in it yet. Right, that's immense. So Rocco, how do these numbers correspond to what you see in the world of our clients here? Do those percentages that I just read out, do they seem to match up? And do you see that the size of the firm changes whether or not they're interested in the construction management software?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, that percentage of folks using Excel is definitely interesting. We get a lot of calls, here at Zentech, we do training and consulting for and product sales for Bluebeam, and quite a number of folks call in and they're using Excel and looking for that integration with Bluebeam, the Bluebeam quantity linking feature, and so we're able to work with them on the consulting end to help improve the takeoff and estimating process.
Right.
Even on the scheduling end, we do training for Microsoft Project, and yeah, it's definitely in line, and it's in line with large versus small. I think, and it's to be expected, right? I mean, a lot of larger firms can afford the more advanced technology, versus the smaller ones are they're more adept to using products like Excel and Project.
Yeah, they're more rational and in their reach, and that's one of the things we're going to talk about here in just a second, right? We're going to get into the actual, kind of the big names in this industry. But the thing is, we're talking about huge investments when you're dealing, particularly with the enterprise level construction management softwares. So, all right, so let's talk about that. Let's talk about the leading systems in this industry, right? So, the three big ones that I see most often in my work, I see Procore, Sage, and Viewpoint. I mean, of those, I guess, Sage is the most modular of those tools. It offers a variety of products that they have focused on specific business processes kind of within the industry, right? So, Sage lets you pick and choose the modules that will fit your company, right? And then pay for just those, and which is a nice feature. Viewpoint and Procore are really both more along the lines of an enterprise system. And that gives you the benefit of really having all of your data stored and integrated in a single system, right? Which can be really nice. I mean, that means that things like, your scheduling, billing, invoices, RFIs, and so on, they all will interact with each other from a central database, right? And that can be a huge plus on large projects, right? The negative, of course, to those enterprise systems is that you're paying for a large scale program, right? That just it's not cheap, right? And you can have, or you can end up having components of it that you're paying for, but that you never really use, And I think that I have to say that the biggest resistance that I see on any of these construction management systems is it's almost always the price. None of these systems are cheap. Right? Though to be fair, the enterprise systems do tend to make people's eyes pop out of their head when they see the first quotes, and I think that that the pricing is the reason why less than half of construction firms out there are using this type of software. But to be fair, right? I also think that people need to look beyond the basic software fee and look at the potential benefits this type of system can give you. Yes, when you get a $30,000 price point for one seat of software, that seems insane, right? But if you stop for a minute, take a breath, right, and go back to what I said at the top of the podcast, right? If the software saves you $1 million a year with just a very small proficiency increase, then $30,000, that's just a great investment. Invest 30, get back $1 million. That's a win, right? So, Rocco, we've worked as a partner with Viewpoint in the past. We're not anymore. And we've done research into Procore and Sage, both models. Which one, which of those do you see people using the most? And what are the responses that you've gotten back on the prices that come with those large CM systems?
I definitely see more folks using Procore. I mean, the other two are definitely out there, but in conversation, Procore comes up most. As far as the price point, I do think that what you're saying makes logical sense, right? I mean, you have to look at the return that you get. They're certainly not cheap, but do you get the functionality that you need? So that's what I think.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. One thing that I do want to point out That I know we're talking about like kind of the big three here, but there are a lot, and I do mean a lot of smaller and much more specifically focused construction management tools out on the market. For example, right, you get tools like Builder Trend, okay, and Co-Construct, right? They're dedicated almost exclusively, to home builders. They're just for doing like residential homework, and they're infinitely more affordable, all right, for most small construction firms, right? For example, if you're looking to focus on, quantity takeoff, right, then tools like we talk about, and we're like Bluebeam and on-screen takeoff or PlanGrid, they're really very affordable and easy to use. Okay, don't let the idea of the big name enterprise software scare you away from this industry. There are definitely smaller, modularized, affordable tools that will focus within your specific niche in the construction world. So you want to go out and look for those. And like we were saying earlier, right, at the end of the day, I know that a very large number of our clients are still making use of Excel and Microsoft Project, right? They're using Project for as their primary scheduling and project management tool, right? And that may make people raise an eye, right? Because Microsoft Project has been around since like the 1980s, right? It's been around forever. But just because these packages are older and smaller, it doesn't make them any less effective. Okay, the truth of it is that systems like Project and Excel, they're still around and in regular use by half the construction world because they are easy, effective, and they're cheap, right? So that's something you need to take into consideration as well, right? So at the end of the day, I think the type of construction management software that you settle on is really going to be very heavily influenced by the size of projects that you normally work with, right? And the potential return on investment that you can honestly expect from it, right? The truth is, not every software is right for every company, right? No matter what sales folks, Rocco, will tell you. I wasn't take the shot. I can't go past the sales statement without taking a shot at you. I'm just mean that way. What can I tell you, dude? So, all right.
There's always going to be a need for salespeople, no matter what you say.
There are absolutely. Listen, I give you a hard time, but without you, I don't get a paycheck. So
exactly.
I kind of like having you around for that. Doesn't mean I like you guys calling me at 6:00 at night when I'm trying to have dinner. Though actually, let's be honest, you never let me go before 7, so I'm not having dinner at 6 anyway. But that's not the point. The point is, no one likes salespeople, Rocco. Should feel badly about yourself. Shame on you.
Wow, this is getting personal now.
Yeah, it always is. Hey, you're the one who makes me talk all day long, so I gotta have something to talk about. So
yeah,
I just beat up on you because it's fun. See, I told you, you're the only one who put up with my crap. See, it's a full circle on today's podcast. All right, so I think with that we're gonna bounce out of here. Unless Rocco, anything else you want to throw in?
No, I'm good to go.
All righty. All right, folks, and we will catch you on our next session. All right? And hope you all have a great day, and thank you for listening to the Cattle Call Podcast.